All right, it's Friday, the 2nd of August, and we've got a really packed show. I'm with Tom. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Hay fever is making me nasally as always, but actually, someone on the last pod I did, which was in June, because I've been away, gave me a healing method, and now my camera's gone off. Back again. Well, it's going to be rubbish for the people listening on the thing. Anyway, whatever. Someone gave me a healing remedy, and he said it works amazingly, and I haven't tried it yet. So,
Okay. Should try it.
Shout out to that guy, which I've forgotten who it was. It's the first time he's
It's
ever
nothing
interacted
weird,
with me
is
as
it?
well. I don't know.
You don't have to stick stones at your bum or something.
Yeah, maybe like some shaman healing or something. Whatever it is, I need to try it out because, again, apologies to everyone listening. I have another nasally voice.
All right, well, we've got a lot to talk about, so hopefully you'll get through it.
Yeah.
While holding your nose with a peg. So we've got United Betis, United's second penultimate game of the pre-season tour. Obviously, the Community Shield's come. And the Liverpool game next weekend. And then we've got a lot of injury news to talk about. So Euro, Højlund, Rashford, at least those. There might be someone else this morning I've not checked on. And then we've got a lot of transfer news. So we've got United signed Chido Obi-Martin from Arsenal. We'll talk a little bit about him. He's a striker, 16 years old. And there's ongoing talks about Aaron Wan-Bissaka maybe leaving. Mazraoui from Bayern Munich maybe coming in, and the long-running... It's not yet a saga, is it? Long-running discussions over Matthias de Ligt, also from Bayern. So let's get to Betis first. What do we make of this? Wasn't really a great performance, all in all. I don't know whether it should be at this stage. A few players got more than an hour this time, so they're ramping up their minutes. So what do you make of it overall?
Yeah, I thought we were really patient with the ball, which I think.
Yeah, true.
With I'm coming from I said on the mini pod in midweek. I haven't seen any of our preseason games because I've been away, and pretty much locked off society for a month or so. So this is my first preseason game that I've seen, and I thought we were really patient with the ball. And I guess this maybe speaks to a new philosophy, and obviously a lot of our listeners will have a better view on this than me because they would have seen our preseason games so far. But kind of coming in, just jetting in for this game, it felt like this maybe is a new kind of style that we might see next season. Maybe something that's kind of come from above Ten Hag, because we were really patient. We didn't do those kind of what was so annoying last season is turning the ball over so much, just trying to go long too quickly, trying to go forward too quickly. And I thought that was nice in a way, and also like I thought at the time that Rashford looks really sharp here. Like Rashford looked really on it. Like his feet were so quick. He was playing with so much confidence. I thought, this is really going to be great if he can maybe maintain that. And then the last thing that he needed right now, he needed such a lovely pre-season to get up to scratch. He's had the Euros off, like he's had a bit of a holiday, he's had a bit of a break. Can he come in and hit the ground running? And the last thing he needed was an injury, and that's the most gutting thing. I thought Ahmad was pretty good again. Hamas was also like really lovely. Doesn't look out of place whatsoever.
Not at all.
And he kind of like wondering, like obviously maybe last season was a bit too early for him, but we were playing Aaron Wan-Bissaka at left back or Diallo at left back. You're thinking, could he have been much worse? He'd have helped us so much in an attacking sense. He looks better than Reguilon. I thought there were some positives. Like Casemiro playing in the pivot is just, God no, please no. But
coming to that, we had Dumb and Dumber in the centre. Sorry, actually.
Yeah, that was old school, wasn't it?
Lindelof and Maguire, who are going to start the Charity Shield, right? I mean, there isn't anyone else. And Eriksen, Casemiro, and McTominay in central midfield. I looked at that. And then Marcus Rashford as a sort of central striker, which is not his thing, really. And I'm like, oh, for the love of God. Like, wasn't this all supposed to have changed?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But you were right about the patience. And there has been a kind of, I wouldn't say obvious in pre-season, but there's been signals that's the case. I mean, in every game, he's changed the entire team prior to this one. So it's really about getting minutes rather than a tactical philosophy. But we can't go back to what happened last season. We can't. It's Ten Hag's third season. If we don't have an idea about the way we're going to play, we're never going to get one. I suspect he's still got his sort of chameleon tendencies and will be picking styles and formations and tactics to suit the opposition rather than trying to impose anything on anyone else. So that's just going to be the case. That's Ten Hag. But yeah, the trying to stretch the play when you've got old men in the centre of the park, or old men and players who can't eat up space. It's doomed to failure. Anyway, they all did okay of those players I mentioned.
Yeah.
Casemiro scored, obviously, and that's his defining trait at the moment, because if he doesn't do that, there's not a lot else, really. And again, you mentioned Ahmad. He's just really bright. I mean, I haven't quite worked out like how good his ceiling is. He's got good feet. He's willing to take on players. He's not very physical still. Maybe he's put on a bit of weight. Hard to tell, really. He doesn't always pick the right choice. I think that's his game intelligence isn't quite up there. It's not Yamin Lamal's sort of level for a younger player, and he's 5 years older. But he's technically good. He can finish. Great goal. Like his second really good goal of pre-season. So we know he can finish. Have to get him in positions to do that. And we're going to come to talk about injuries. The other player that's injured that we didn't mention is Anthony. And we know what he offers, which is like almost nothing in the final third. Great defensive stats. I mean, absolutely elite for a forward, his defensive stats are. Offers absolutely nothing in an attacking sense. And so we've got to move on from that. They won't be able to get rid of him because of his massive PSR costs. There's no deal they can do that makes any sense. Ahmad's got a great chance. And then Sancho on the other side, he's looked... I mean, I'd say the thing about Sancho in pre-season is he looks like he's working hard. Like, for now, at least. Or the intensity looks like it's there. And that is, I guess that's been the defining trait, apart from the significant amount of time off he's had, the defining trait of Sancho's time at United has been a lack of intensity.
Yeah. I think if you look at that team, and especially the players that you mentioned, I think pretty much every player that you mentioned, a lot of United fans would have hoped that we'd have got rid of them this summer. Maybe not Maguire, but you think Lindelof, Casemiro, Eriksen, McTominay, Wan-Bissaka also looks like he's going to go. You probably would have thought Sancho was going to go as well. You're thinking that in that team, there's only Rashford and Ahmad starting, who you would think would be in our hopeful best 11. Obviously, Amas is a player for the future, and Tom Heaton isn't our goalkeeper, but I think we're being this close to the start of the season. We're in August now, and we're still seeing that team. I think that is a bit of a worry. I don't know, like everything, like we spoke about on the mini pod in midweek, like things are going in the right direction, and they feel like they're going in the right direction quickly. But because this squad is so bloated with average talent, like it's going to be very difficult to move all this dead weight on, and it means that this season is. It's going to be difficult to start with a bang, considering where we're at, and then obviously the Rashford injury, the Højlund injury, the Yoro injury. It's not a great pre-season, to be honest.
No, I mean, yeah, it's really deeply worrying. Yeah, well, let's talk about some of the injuries, because it's with these pre-season games, it's really hard to like deeply analyze the tactics or whatever. I mean, again, like 20 players were fielded, and we can talk about individuals and stuff, but like trying to look to some kind of meaning in this is pretty difficult. So, of the players who's injured, we've got Rashford. We've mentioned it's unclear on like how bad that is. Yoro, who's broken a metatarsal, looks like he's going to be out for 3 months. Just just unbelievable. I don't know how much the pitch played a part in this in LA, but it was turf rolled over AstroTurf, so rock hard, according to people who got down on the pitch and had a feel of it. We've got who else? Anthony is out injured as well. Not unclear how long. Rasmus Højlund looks like that's 6 weeks with a pulled hamstring.
And then Xerxes not arrived yet. Garnacho's not arrived yet.
Xerxes not back. Garnacho and Martinez only back in training today at Carrington,
which is obviously great, but it's just very late.
Yeah, they're not going to be ready for the start of the season. Clearly, they'll be starting their pre-season against Manchester City. So they're 5 or 6 games behind everyone else. It's a huge blow, all of this. Because, it will affect United's transfer thinking. It shouldn't, obviously you buy players or sell players for long-term thinking, right? But we're going to end up starting the season with square pegs in round holes, potentially, again. Or at least, definitely not our first choice. I mean, it will be Maguire and Lindelof if they can stay fit for, certainly for the Liverpool game coming up. And then Manchester City at Wembley next Sunday? I forget. Saturday, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. No one would have wanted that. You feel for Yoro because the big move happened. He's played a couple of games, like a major injury, and like that metatarsal, it's very hard to tell. Maybe 3 months, maybe longer, and the risk of breaking it again, as we've seen with other players, may be high.
Yeah, I mean, we've had 2 sagas in this country of both of United players before an England World Cup with Rooney and Beckham. We kind of been touch and go. Are they going to make the World Cup? And you just don't know how long it's going to take. And it's just so frustrating for him. And then also with our 2 potential new signings, which look like they might happen with De Ligt and Mazraoui, which I think are 2 really, really good additions. Mazraoui's a bit of an injury concern. He gets injured quite a lot. And De Ligt obviously has not quite reached the hype that we all thought he was going to when he was an 18, 19-year-old bossing at Ajax. But still, 2 really good signings, I think. But for them to not be through the door yet, and potentially, like you say, it might turn into a saga, which happens at the end of August. Again, it'll be great if we get them through the door, but not ideal. And obviously, it depends on because of the PSR stuff requires us to get rid of players. It'd be that McTominay, who looks like he may be going to Fulham, or Wan-Bissaka potentially going to West Ham. It's no one's fault per se, but it's just not ideal preparation for the new season for these 2 guys to be potentially walking through the door once the season's already started.
Late. Yes, and you can understand why that might lead to some frustration with Ten Hag. I wonder on De Ligt, they'd agreed a price with the player, or terms with the player some time ago. And I wonder whether it's just the club delaying to see whether Everton might change their mind on Branthwaite or not. Yeah. And then clearly Mazraoui, they need to make space in the squad, so they're seeing whether Wan-Bissaka is open to a move, and there was some reporting that he's more willing to go to Inter than West Ham. West Ham are the stronger bidders, although reports that it's only 10 million.
That's crazy.
Which would be his PSR cost.
Yeah.
Right? He's into the final year of his contract, but still, 10 million seems like a bit of a piss take. He's only 26 years old. He's got a good career ahead of him. We know what he is. He's excellent at some stuff, and fairly average at the stuff that we need from a fullback in this squad. Mazraoui, on the other hand, the concern around injuries are there. He is the profile of fullback that Ten Hag clearly likes. Very, very attacking, quick, bold, goes forward. He's even more sort of extreme than Diallo in that respect, I think. Diallo's turned into an all-rounder, not the attacking fullback we thought we would have as a teenager. And Mazraoui's always been that sort of attacking player.
Yeah, and he can play left back as well. He plays left back for Morocco because of Hakimi playing at right back, and I think he's really, really tricky. I think I really love watching Masraoui, and I think if he wasn't as injury prone as he is, I don't think Bayern will be getting rid of him because he is that good and he plays in their big games and stuff. It's just the injuries are concern with him because he is a really, really good footballer. And I think for people who haven't seen him, I think he will really surprise you how good he is, to be honest. I think he's really that good.
Yeah. Well, the concern with Bayern always is they like to sell us duds, isn't it? You know, if they tell you it's a bratwurst, check the sausage. Yeah. It's like, yeah, we've bought so many duds off them, but so yes, you'd be concerned. De Ligt's, injury concerns really. He's had quite a few over the years, but mostly they've been short-term ones. I mean, he's basically had an injury or two every season of his career, and last season was pretty severe. And you wonder whether Bayern would be thinking of moving him on if that hadn't been the case. Although, of course, both at Juve and Bayern, maybe the expectations were higher than reality with him. A little touch. Given he moved for huge fees in both cases. I mean, Bayern obviously trying to refresh their squad totally because of the disaster last season. There's talk of Kim Min-jae being available as well. I mean, Upamecano is probably the only one that's not available, I'd say.
Yeah, it's weird like that those four because like Kim was unbelievable at Napoli and it looked like United were going to sign him at one point and then Bayern nipped in there and got him, and he had a disastrous season last season, and then Upamecano makes mistake after mistake after mistake. He looked like he was going to be the next big thing when he was at Leipzig, and then De Ligt obviously has been kind of touted as this wonder kid for so long, and all three of them were outshone by Eric Dyer when he came in, and Eric Dyer was the best centre back at Bayern, and they've obviously signed him this summer, like on a free, obviously, but like. It's weird because all three of them at one point I thought, oh my god, these are all elite, and now all of a sudden De Ligt's surplus to requirements, Kim's surplus to requirements, and Eric Dyer's the chosen one for whatever reason. It's strange, and you hope that this is a Bayern thing, like sometimes it's a United thing, and that we signed De Ligt and he can flourish again under Ten Hag. So, when you kind of look at what De Ligt is and his profile, his temperament and stuff, you think this is, I think it's a no-brainer. I'd sign him ahead. I think Branthwaite makes a lot of sense in the fact that he's left-footed. He has a really high ceiling, but I think if you think of the price we pay for De Ligt, I think it'd be a great signing.
Yeah, I mean, we'll sign him for 10 million euros more than we really should do, and then he'll pull a groin in his first game and be out for 4 months. Yeah, you'd hope now with the new structure in place that they pay the right kind of price for players. They obviously paid an awful lot for Yoro, and they're buying potential, and they had to pay probably a bit more than you'd think was sensible, given the kid had a year left on his contract, because they were trying to outdo PSG and Real Madrid, and so they just had to go to a premium there. And it's true in football. Like I know there's loads of analysis and attempts by various websites to put there's a CIS analysis, and there's transfers.com and a few others I can't remember right now that try to put a sort of objective price, but that's without context, right? And maybe there's an objective price, but the contexts are how much does the buying club really want him, and who else is in for him. And United just paid a bit extra on Yoro in order to get ahead of Madrid and PSG. Fair enough, I guess. De Ligt, I mean, he should be less than Bayern bought him for. They spent 50-odd million, and United need to spend less than that. On the other side of the pitch, a left back, I guess we all thought United probably really needed to sign one, didn't we, at the end of last season, because we had Wan-Bissaka playing there or Diallo playing there, and it's really restricted the way United play. I wonder after this summer whether we will do. I mean, obviously Luke Shaw's not back in training yet. He's having an extended break because he was away with England, but he looked fit for England eventually when they got him in the team. Touch wood, he comes back to United in pretty good shape, needs a few games to get up to speed, but not much. And then Sam Murray and Harry Amas doing really well this summer. You might make you think, especially with Amas. I mean, Sam Murray's done well, but I think Amas's sort of quality on the ball is really high. You just think, yeah, maybe he's like, you wouldn't expect him to start 30 games next season, but I would rather have him in there as a development project than Diallo playing left back again.
Yeah, and it just gives that better balance to the team as well. We saw it with England throughout the summer when Trippier, a right footer, is playing at left back, and it'd be the same with Mazraoui. Obviously, Mazraoui's right footer as well. If he came in and would play left back, it just makes you so narrow on that one side, so predictable. Like every time that Trippier got forward for England, he just kept playing that ball back, and it became a meme, obviously, at a point. Whereas even if Amas isn't as good a player as Diallo, playing at left back, he is a better player. Like you say, that the way he played last night for me just really, really, really impressed me. Like no one would have saw that game for the first time and not realised who was who and said, "Oh, that guy's a youth player who's not played a senior game for Man United before," because like he's so tidy, so calm, so composed, and like I say, it gives that extra balance just having a left foot or a left back. And Malacia, I think Ten Hag said today, is 2 or 3 months away from coming back into the team as well. I don't know what the hell's going on there.
I mean, you've got a question. You feel sorry for him. He's had a year out already, and a major injury to his knee, and then the setback, which I don't think anyone's actually defined what that setback was. Another 2 or 3 months, you got to question whether he'll ever come back. That 18 months out of the game.
Ever come back, or even if he does come back to the same standard that he was potentially going to play at. It's also really hard to define like how good Malacia was, because he didn't play that many games. He looked fine. He looked like a bit of an all-rounder. Like he didn't set the world alight. He didn't look terrible. But like now, it's just you're almost thinking, send him out on loan in January, get 6 months of football under your belt at a lower level, maybe go back to Holland for a little bit and play in the Eredivisie, and then come back to United next summer, because you're just thinking you can't really throw him back into the Premier League after 18 months out. Like it's just, it's going to be a real trouble. So that's an issue that's hanging over us, because we still, like you say, we still have one left back. It looked like Kerkez might come at one point, but I think he had such a bad Euros that like United were scared off by that, and a lot of other clubs were scared off by that. But then you see Amas playing last night. It was, and I guess other people have seen it throughout pre-season, and you're thinking, why not? Like we saw Colin Mainu light up in pre-season last year, and we saw the impact that he made. So
yeah. Some of the younger players done really well. And, I mean, obviously there's a really high technical ceiling amongst all the players. That's part of the academy coaching setup. Everyone's of high technical quality. Then you're looking for other stuff, like their ability to translate that into performances. I mean, probably of all the younger players, Ethan Wheatley's struggled the most to make an impact. And he's the guy who scores loads of goals at youth level, but just looking at him, he feels a year away, doesn't he? Maxi Oyedele, very nice on the ball, and in midfield, he looks really comfortable. Again, probably looking for a loan away with him, although Ten Hag likes to have players in the squad if he rates them. And Harry Amas, I mean, I don't know whether he was picking out Ahmad for Ahmad's goal or whether the cross went slightly behind the forward, but and he got a bit lucky to get in position, didn't he, with the bouncing off a Betis player? But it was a nice whipped-in cross, and we've just seen that comfort on the ball, in especially in attacking positions. Probably hasn't been tested loads defensively, but has done really well. Yeah, enough that it gets you thinking, he could be the second choice. And like, touchwood, Luke Shaw's not out for months on end, and you only really have to have Amas playing 10 or 15 games or something.
That is one of the considerations, though, isn't it? Like, you can't rely on Luke Shaw to give you a full season, so you almost can't have a left back as purely deputy, because like Luke Shaw is just not reliable enough, which is a problem in itself.
Yeah. Well, Ten Hag keeps saying something basically to that effect, that to solve the problems, he said you can't avoid injury, so to solve the problem, you have to have more squad depth. But that's cost, right? There's a cost to that. So who's leaving? And if he wants more players, who's taking a pay cut? Or if he wants more players, he's got to have cheaper players, right? There is just a reasonable amount United can spend. We've overspent. We have taken a lot out of wages. I mean, a huge amount with players leaving over the last few years, like really high earners. It would help if Casemiro left as well, to that effect. Nothing against him, really. I just don't think he's going to cut it at Premier League level anymore. Too physical.
Yeah.
Too physical, he earns too much, and it would make a lot of sense for him to move on.
He's also not good enough on the ball either. Like, he doesn't have the physical attributes anymore, and he's not got like the ability on the ball to make up for that either. So it's like he's
scores goals and did well, one way or another. Ahmad was involved in all 3 goals. I mean, obviously he put the cross in for the corner, which I think was headed on, and then Marcus Rashford laid it across to Casemiro. Couldn't really miss, So there is that. He is a threat from set pieces. Casemiro always has been, but not sure there's much else there to him. So yes, we were talking about younger players, and Toby Collier's done really well in the games he's played. There's an option there, I think. I mean, I'm not sure I'd want him as my starting number 6. Because United are still negotiating over Ugarte from Paris Saint-Germain, who looks like they're doing the deal for João Neves. It doesn't half make me pause this one. Like, they've had him for a year. Obviously, Enrique doesn't like him. He wants more of a ball player at number 6 than a destroyer, which is why they're going after João Neves, real ball player. But if he's in the best player of his age group in that position, and Ugarte is not, why are we going to spend basically the entire fee on him? It feels like when United signed Casemiro and Real Madrid just turned around and spent it on a better player in Tchouaméni. Yeah. Is the same happening again?
Yeah. I almost think like Rabiot might be a better option if you just want to kind of have like a short like stopgap type of thing, like because at least he's free and like.
Is he any good?
I don't know. I don't hate Rabiot. Like I think he's been like good for France, good for Juve, like good. I'm saying like good. I think it'd be an improvement on what we have like for free, and I just think like if I feel like Ugarte is almost like a panic buy type of thing because we need a centre midfielder. Whereas if maybe like having Rabiot for a year on a free rather than like splashing loads of cash might be a better option. No, obviously it's not going to make me really, really excited. It's not going to make me fuzzy inside.
I think the challenge is he would probably want a 3-year contract.
And his mum's a bit of a
very high wages.
Who's his agent?
Nutter mum. Well, it'd be good for the memes and the narrative, wouldn't it? So, all right. Any other transfers going on? That's it really. So we're just waiting on Mazraoui, Wan-Bissaka, De Ligt, Ugarte, maybe.
Yeah.
I think we'll wait till right to the end of the window for a bunch of the young players to go out on loan, I imagine, or I suppose some deals may get done after the Community Shield, but they're just going to wait to see what they've got for the start of the season before they start sending players out on loan. And I'd expect to see a number of the players we've seen this summer do that. It's the next step in their career. Wheatley and Oyedele, I'd imagine, will take a championship club or something like that. And then we'll see on the rest. One of Harry Amos and Sam Murray.
There's Chido Obi as well, who we signed from Arsenal. Obviously, youth signing.
Let's talk about him then. Yeah. He's 16 years old. I don't know that we'd expect him to be straight into the first team squad. Who knows? I mean, apparently, he's come to United. Chido Obi Martin come to United because there's a better pathway to the first team than at Arsenal. Which I'm like, hang on a minute. We've got 2 quite young strikers in Højlund and Zirkzee. And I guess Rashford can play there, though he doesn't really want to. Is there a better pathway for him than at Arsenal, where they've got a bunch of forwards who can score goals? Yeah.
And he is an old-fashioned number 9. Like he reminds me a little almost
like it.
Just not that I can't claim that I've watched him every single week playing for Arsenal under 18s, but like he reminds me of like a little bit like a Van Nistelrooy type of guy, like a great finisher. Like the ball takes about 3 touches to like takes about 2 or 3 touches to set himself and scores like every single time he gets the ball. Like he is a kind of like Aussie men type of character. I think like he's a penalty box striker, and I think yeah, like you say, it almost fits like what Arsenal are missing in a lot of ways. He knows where the goal is, and he's just going to play through the middle. And I think it's hella exciting for United for him to sign him, because if you look at his goal scoring record at youth level and for Denmark under 17s, it's crazy. And also like the types of finishes that he has, I think like there have been reports that he was really like wanting to be alongside Van Nistelrooy as well. Like it was one of the pulls for him, was also like as well as the pathway to the first team. And like I say, it does kind of remind me of Van Nistelrooy and that type of striker. So I don't. Yeah, it's a youth signing. I don't know how long it's going to take for him to come into the first team, but it is when we sign, I guess, one of the best youngsters in the world. Like it's always going to be exciting, no matter how young they are.
Yeah, he's got a great record, goal scoring records. It helped somewhat by scoring 10 times in a game against Liverpool last November. You don't see those kind of scores, especially between sort of, even at youth level, between elite sides. It's unusual, but it's got a lot of them. That video was going around. Yeah, I mean, there's some good finishes in there, a few scrappy ones. But obviously in the right place to score them. Rude apparently called him to persuade him to come. Which had happened with Jude Bellingham. Not Rude, obviously, but a few extra players had called him. And Jude was talking to Sir Alex Ferguson before he was rudely interrupted by one of the suits. At least they're doing it the right way now. If you're going to deploy your big guns and your famous names,
and also like Rude's going to be there on the sideline as well, so it's not like just some guy who's he's going to be there to help him. I think my only kind of concern with Chido Obi is that, do you know, like when you watch like an under 14 game, not that you probably go to watch to the park to watch it that often because that would be a bit weird, but like, or like when you used to play when you were younger and you used to have that guy who was like really big and really strong, who used to just bully all the other kids because he'd grown up and developed a lot faster. That is one of the kind of concerns that I have a little bit watching him, because he's like a big boy, like very tall and very physical. Like, I guess sometimes at youth level, you can just see like the big boys who just like bully the other teams a little bit, other players a little bit. And I guess you could maybe said that about Haaland when he was scoring 8 goals past Thailand or whatever, because he was just a big guy. He used to bully everyone else. But that would be my little bit of concern. Is he just kind of a flat chat bully who's bullying loads of other kids who are just really, really small because he's a big guy? But hopefully not.
Yeah. Well, there's very little risk in it.
Yeah, exactly.
So there'll be a development fee to pay, but not much, basically. So, yeah. All right, that's injuries and signings, Joy and Betis. And then we have Liverpool to come in, where are they playing? North Carolina, I think.
Nice.
Yeah. Always lovely to pay Liverpool pre-season. How many players are going to get injured in this one? And who the hell's going to play? We haven't got a striker left. Sancho will play kind of false nine, which he did at times look like he was playing against Betis. So
I just hope it can be like some of the crap players who get injured. Why does it keep having to be like on like 3 main guys? Kind of like, it's just really annoying. Just like not Casemiro, because we wanted to get sold, but also I'm surprised Wan-Bissaka played the other day. Like, because imagine if he got injured just before.
Yeah, trying to get him out the door. Actually, we like one player who will probably play is Scott McTominay, and a lot of interest in him at the moment. Fulham trying to buy him at 20 million, which I feel like in a market where Emil Smith-Rowe, who's barely played a game for years, goes for 35 million to Fulham. I think McTominay is worth quite a bit of money. I mean, you can't even talk City-style academy, premium, like potential. Emil Smith Rowe was good 4 years ago and hasn't been good since then. That's a hell of a lot of money to pay for him, but
McTominay
anyway,
what,
Fulham,
like 8 goals last season, maybe
10 goals. He's got 10 goals last season. Now, like, he's not technically good enough for a possession-based side, but if you're going to be more vertical and you want to get third man runners, then yeah, 20 million is definitely not enough. And Fulham are taking
just
the piss.
so bad at selling players. Like, hopefully that'll improve under
Gotta
this
get
under
better,
Ineos,
yeah.
but we're just so bad at it.
Yeah. Anyway, it's got to be more, but I presume he'll play against Liverpool because there just aren't that many players left. So what kind of side we're going to look at? Because the other thing is they've got to start getting to near 90 minutes for a lot of these players. So Sancho's going to have to play, Ahmad's going to have to play. I don't know who the other forward is.
Will they go with Wheatley, maybe?
Not sure. Maybe Wheatley will play, yeah, and Sancho will play off the left. Yeah, I mean, fine. Let's, give him more minutes. I guess Casemiro's going to have to play McTominay. Does Ericsson start another game? It's kind of interesting one there because he's played quite a lot of football for a player who did not expect to start the season. So, Maxi Ardeli's there, of course, could play in midfield. And at the back, there aren't actually any options. I mean, if you look at the bench against Betis, that there aren't a lot of central defensive options. Well, there's Will Fish, who you would not expect to remain at the club. Right, so he spent a couple of seasons doing okay in Scotland, and Johnny Evans, who's given a new contract, surely he is not going to play another 30 games this season. Toby Collier, maybe he starts because he has done really well. I like his combativeness. I mentioned it on the pod with Wayne, but I really enjoyed him absolutely clattering Jorginho and then looking at him with total disdain.
It's fun.
Mason Mount. Maybe Mason Mount didn't start against Betis, got 30 minutes or so. I was really bright prior to this. It looks like a new sort of beginning for him.
Yeah.
Still can't work out where he's going to play for United. And then of that, Hannibal Medri, they're going to move on, surely. They're looking for a club for him. There was some talk of Rangers being interested. Rangers won't be able to pony up much money. Yeah, and James Scanlon, who's going to end up going on loan this summer.
Yeah, I heard Scanlon's been... Some few people have said Scanlon's been good.
He's done all right. I mean, he played it right back the other day. He's not all right.
Really struggled at right back, Yeah, I find him fascinating because to have chosen Gibraltar at his age is really interesting. Gone early.
Yeah, I mean most younger players. I mean, oh God, who I'm forgetting now? The Nigerian player who played for Chelsea and didn't come.
Oh, John Obi Mikel. Yeah,
sorry, John Obi Mikel. Who's called that because when he played in Denmark or Norway, was it? They got his name completely wrong and he just kept it. He was complaining the other day, and I think with some cause, actually. He said that players who are qualified to play for Nigeria, obviously, but African countries through heritage, wait until 24 or 25 to see whether they're going to get a call up to England or France or wherever they're based. And it's a bit disrespectful. And he's got a point, hasn't he? You know, you either really want to play for the country or not, and it shouldn't be second choice. And I understand why players do it, of course. They're keeping their options open because the FIFA regulations say if you play 3 competitive games, that's it, you're done, you're locked in for life to a country. And so, for Scanlon to choose really early, he must either have deeply believed and wanted to play for Gibraltar, or believe that he had no pathway to international football with any other country.
It's such a young age, but I just can't imagine a lad growing up and his wildest dream is to play for Gibraltar in the League Nations Group D or whatever.
Yeah, and get spanked around.
Imagine if he made it at United and going out to... That must be just demoralising, but fair enough. And like you say, he's chosen very early, and I think John Mikel does make a really good point about that because you see it like Jamaica, for example. If you look at Jamaica's team, it's almost just like England couldn't make it kind of team. Like Mikel Antonio choosing at 28, and like it is a bit disrespectful to the nation.
Well, Jamaica, there was some talk of Mason Greenwood being could be available.
Now on Steve McLaren as well.
Never going to play for England again, right? I mean, he wouldn't have under Southgate for sure, but I just can't imagine a scenario in which the FA go, we'd like that guy. It just cut, So if he wants to play international football, that may be a pathway for him. Talking of Jamaica, Steve McLaren has become Jamaica manager, and it's not an original thought because it's been said all over the internet, but surely the last question of his interview was, "Now, Steve, you're not going to do the racist accent, are you?" Oh God, he must be thinking himself, "I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it."
Oh my God, I can't believe he's got that job. He must. This is like what every end of career manager must dream of. Like Steve Bruce was linked to it as well, wasn't he? It's like the absolute dream. Like they're quite a good team. They're probably like the fourth best in CONCACAF, aren't they? Like we've got a lot of Premier League players.
Yeah. Real chance of qualifying for the World Cup. It's
such an easy job. Obviously, it will be difficult to qualify for the World Cup and stuff. But actually, because of the next World Cup, the places there'll be more places because it's an extended World Cup, isn't it? And then he's just chilling in.
It's 2018 World Cup.
Jamaica.
And USA, Canada, and Mexico are already qualified, aren't they?
So he's literally they're the first, right? They're the best team in CONCACAF qualifying, then really.
You'd imagine they will.
Costa Rica, Honduras, maybe, but they're not as good as they used to be.
Yeah, I can't remember how many extra places there are for CONCACAF because of that, and maybe there's not many. But anyway, great opportunity. He can have a great time in the sun for a few years. I'd love to do that job. I mean, obviously, I'm not a football manager, so I wouldn't get the opportunity. But fantastic, yeah. Maybe if there's any South Pacific island that would like to take a chance on a podcaster.
Like the US, they made a film out of that US Fiji. Virgin Island manager, didn't they? Taika Waikiki. So it could be it. That'd be a good story.
Why not? Wouldn't it just? I'll podcast from there. The journey. All right. Very good. So Liverpool coming up in a couple of days. And then Manchester City. I mean, obviously it doesn't mean anything against Liverpool, but we'd like to stick it to them.
And also, I've seen loads of
Arnie
social media garbage about Arnie Slot and Liverpool are cooking under Arnie Slot.
Of course, he's the best thing that's ever happened. Yeah.
You better rest.
Because social media is horrendous. It really is. I mean, obviously, I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook, thankfully. I spend quite a lot of time on Twitter and a little bit of time on Instagram, and Twitter is an absolute hellhole. And I curate my Twitter very well. So the people in my follow list are all football people. They're all talking about football. If they're not talking about football, I basically unfollow them. And but the For You tab, I don't know what the algo is doing there, but it's basically a bunch of Nazis. It's absolutely horrendous.
It has turned into an absolute shit. Doesn't it? It's so horrible. And also, the last few days, the culture war has gone to new levels. It's horrible.
Yeah, and completely incorrect, both with what the horrendous stabbing in Southport and the sort of doxing of this. Obviously, I know what the hell has caused the 17-year-old kid from Cardiff to go do that, but both his doxing, both by a judge and then the internet, and then the cultural war around that, and then the cultural war around the Olympic boxer. It's really grim. It's really grim. But then, directly in football, I can't stand it. Honestly, I just don't get involved with it. I'm going to state my controversial opinion and then state some absolute guff. And unfortunately, people who I previously respected did this as well because they have a blue tick and they're they're trying to make a bit of money about it on it, and it's just a real shame because it lowers the quality of any kind of discussion if you can.
And all the
even
big
have that
accounts do it as well. Like I follow like this stuff like TNT and Sky, because obviously they get the highlights on the feed and stuff, so you want to see it immediately. But then when they're not actually showing that something that's interesting, they're doing this crap, which is just to heat up the discourse. And it's just like, and you look at the comments, and I always look at, I don't know why, I don't know, like everyone probably on social media, just a complete masochist. And you go looking in the comments, you get angry by it, and you're like, why am I doing this to myself? I just don't understand what I'm doing. Why am I doing this?
Yeah, don't do it. Rule number 1, never look at the bottom half of the internet, and Twitter is entirely the bottom half of the internet. And the comment section, just horrendous, pick any position that's absolutely horrendous under any post, and that will happen, and unfortunately, the algos are designed to make you angry because it keeps you engaged.
It does do that.
It does do that. Don't do it to yourself. Yes. Who Scored Who, one of the OG stats sites, did this about Bruno Fernandes today. Completely out of context. He's lost more possession more times than any other player in the Premier League last season, forgetting to state that he also created more chances than any other player in the Premier League last season.
That's it, isn't it? It's just their business model. Like, find the most controversial take or find the most controversial stat, release all the context, and just post it out into the ether and watch the engagement fly in, and it works every time.
Yeah. Yes, the rule here is either to not engage at all, or if you're going to engage, correct it, but screenshot it so you're not linking through to their site. Yeah. All right. Lovely. I think that's it. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, listeners. We'll be back at some point after the Liverpool game and prior to the City game. Good luck, everyone out there. Stay safe. Bye now.